It occurred to me when the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, they gave up the Trey Lance package. It was 3 firsts, a third and a fourth, and they got Deshaun Watson a 5th-round pick back. So a little bit more than the Niners gave up for Trey Lance, which is just amazing to me that the Niners gave up essentially it's like they were trading for a Pro Bowl quarterback. Essentially they gave up too much for that pick. So why did it happen? Well, I went back and looked at the timeline. The Niners traded for the number 3 pick on March 26th of 2021. 10 days before that, March 16th of 2021, Deshaun Watson had the first civil lawsuit filed against him by Tony Busby. So I'm going back and I'm thinking at the time, Niner fans were convinced the Niners were going to trade for Deshaun Watson. Fans were all in. If it took 3 first-round picks, fans would be cool. It seemed like that's the price. Then all of a sudden, Deshaun Watson becomes no longer an option. And the Niners take the package they would have sent to Houston and just turn around and send it to Miami for not even a player, as they said, a spot so they could go up and evaluate players and figure out who they wanted. To me, in retrospect, this whole move going up to number 3 was a panic move. It's possible they didn't even know who they wanted when they got there. And I think it was confirmed that on the day of the draft, they tried to flip it for Aaron Rodgers.
The day before, they wanted to have that conversation. So I mean,
they say they loved Trey Lance the whole time. Yeah, maybe, but I feel like getting to the position to take him was a panic move. What do you think?
I don't know if it was a panic move, but it was definitely a reactionary move. I think that they started the offseason, right? Kyle Shanahan has laid this out in January, and I think they viewed quarterback as we got to get a quarterback. And I think first option was Stafford. Rams got him. Then I think Watson. Then when the Watson civil suits came out, I do think that was fully reactionary. Okay, well, we've also been looking at the draft quarterbacks. We really like Trey Lance and Mac Jones. Let's just go up there. Let's do our further homework and decide which one of the two we want to take. And they landed at Trey Lance. But I don't think it was, the entire offseason started in January. All they wanted to do was trade up and draft Trey Lance. I don't buy that because
I don't buy it.
I do look at that package and say I do think that was what they would have offered Watson, because at the time they were heavily linked with Deshaun Watson. And I do think that you look at that package, and prior to the civil suits, I think that anybody would rather have Deshaun Watson than a draft position. Deshaun Watson's already one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
We're hoping Trey Lance can be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And this is all before, right? We know the weird stuff with the entire civil case and all that. I'm trying to take you back.
February. Remember January and February. I remember
Deshaun
the Cohn
Watson
phones.
Just looked at.
I remember the Cohn phones that month. Everyone was calling and saying, we got to get Watson. Should we trade 8 first-round picks for Watson? 9.
And listen, Watson wasn't just looked up at the time as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Him as a person at that time was like, people were like, Deshaun Watson's the best guy. Deshaun Watson's the best leader. Deshaun Watson this, Deshaun Watson that. Like, he does so much for this, so much for that. Like, Watson was really, really viewed like that. And I don't know if it's wrong. I do think that it was clearly reactionary. They wanted to get to a point where their quarterback was going to be a guy that can be really, really good. Not just better than Jimmy Garoppolo. One of these guys that they can look at and say, we can go win a Super Bowl with that guy. Because I do think that we now have 2 deep playoff runs that show that, at some point, if you don't have that quarterback that can stand up and play big in a big game, that top 10 type quarterback, in my opinion, there's like 10 to 12 that you can realistically win a Super Bowl with. The top 5 guys you can win multiple Super Bowls with, and they'll do it in different situations. But those 5 to 12 guys, if you have a really, really good team and a good defense and all of that, like the Rams did with Stafford, you can win a Super Bowl with a guy like Matthew Stafford that's that good. He's just not as good as Aaron Rodgers or Brady. And so I do look at it as they looked at, we got to get one of those quarterbacks. I don't think they had a plan on what the quarterback was. They were just looking for a result, and they were going to do anything to get to that result.
To me, it feel like they were interested. Kyle said he was interested in Matthew.
Yeah, no, they were interested in Stafford.
He looked at all his tape. Doubt about that. He said he looked at all his tape, right? But clearly they weren't aggressive enough pursuing Stafford because the Rams got him for a package that was ultimately less than what the Niners gave up for Lance.
Right.
So in retrospect,
to be fair, the Brad Holmes-Goff connection, I think, did help the Rams, because who knows if they would have taken Garoppolo, right? Because like Brad Holmes drafted or was part of the contingency that drafted Jared Goff.
Garoppolo. They could have just cut Garoppolo.
True.
And from what I understand, like Stafford thought he was going to go to the Niners. I think he was more enthusiastic about going to the Rams, but he was open to coming to the Niners. The Niners could have been more aggressive, gotten Stafford, probably won the Super Bowl last year. But
hey, who said that?
But what I think happened was they were like, why give up 3 first-round picks for Stafford when we can give that up for Watson? And they were like, you know what, Rams, fine. You take a borderline top 10 quarterback in the league. We'll go get a top 5 quarterback. I think that's probably what happened. And then the civil suits came out. 10 days later, the Niners make a really head-scratching move. No one saw it coming. And, fans are enthusiastic about it now, but it's still like really high stakes what Kyle Shanahan did with his career and with this franchise. And it's really not something that any other team would do, trade that much for a draft pick. I mean, it's just a ton.
No, it's draft position, right? They didn't even trade for a player at the time. They traded for a draft position. That's bizarre. That's not how business has ever been done in the NFL, right? Like the Washington football team, or Commanders, excuse me, when they traded up, they weren't trading up to study Ryan Tannehill and Robert Griffin and figure out which one they liked. They traded up for Robert Griffin III. The Rams traded up for Jared Goff. It was reported a day after they traded up, or hours after they traded up, that Jared Goff would be the first pick in the draft. And Philadelphia traded up for Carson Wentz. So I do think that that conversation, that's pretty inarguable. I think at this point, we can evaluate the process. We can talk about the process. But I do think, as much as I like talking process over result, I do think that we do have to see a little bit of the product on the field before we come back to this conversation. I do think it's a good conversation, right? But we do have to see what ends up happening with Trey Lance. Because again, Trey Lance is the ultimate, he's the ultimate ace in the hole. If Trey Lance is a phenomenal quarterback, everything they did here, right, it's whatever. But if Trey Lance is not that guy, all of these conversations that we have about their process, it becomes a criticism, because we're aware of this information right now. We're just waiting to see. We're impending the results, right? It's like you study in a totally different way for an exam, right? Until you get the score of the exam, even though I might think the way you studied is wrong, I can't tell you that, like, you studied wrong. So I do think.
And I think we both agree, like, once they got to 3, they made the right pick. They made the pick we would have made. They made the pick.
That wasn't my pick, right? I was a Justin Fields guy, but
in hindsight, to me, I still think they made the right pick once they got to 3. It's just how they got about going to 3.
So here, if I can go back to my thought process at the time, my favorite quarterback of those 3 was Fields, but I was also like, I just want Shanahan to get a guy that he believes in. I don't care who it is really of the 3. Just go get one. As a fan, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon if it's Kellen Mond or Kyle Trask. Or I didn't like Kyle Trask, but I would jump on the bandwagon, but I'm a fan. So I just wanted Shanahan to get that guy. I do think we agree, right? Like, at this point, like, Trey Lance has shown nothing that would make you feel concerned about him. He seems to be an stand-up A+ human being. And he seems to show all the talent that we thought he had. It's just about actually seeing him play with consistency.
Coach says availability and context are easy to forget when assessing the Watson-Rodgers situation last year. A-Rod is enough to at least ask, no matter how bought in they are. Watson was radioactive last year. Right.
No, he's right. He's right. That's exactly we're agreeing.
I'm not saying they should have traded for Watson. I'm saying it's no coincidence that they traded for the number 3 pick 10 days after the first lawsuit came out. No coincidence.
It's not even that they're wrong, right? It's not even that they're wrong, because, like, of course you would rather have Watson or Aaron Rodgers than Trey Lance. I'm sorry. I don't think that's controversial.
Yeah.
I think you would rather have – I mean, Watson was looking like he was on a Hall of Fame track. He still might be, in fact. And Aaron Rodgers is a first-ballot cinch Hall of Famer. He's won 4 MVPs. I just think that we also agree that the move to trade up was, okay, we like these guys. This is a good quarterback draft. The next year isn't. We don't think we're going to get one of these veteran quarterbacks. Okay. It was more reactionary because it wasn't so much about a specific player. It was, well, we need a quarterback and we need one now. So if this doesn't work, we're going to go to this. Like, if they couldn't trade up, I think they might have tried to make another move, but I think they were going to end up somehow getting a quarterback that they felt was better than Jimmy Garoppolo by a considerable margin in the building by the end of last offseason. I think that part is fairly clear. Did I say that or explain that in a
Yes. Bye.